For 70 years, they have been the world's most enigmatic artifacts, fragments of history preserved in the driest place on Earth, the Dead Sea Scrolls. Relics of faith, windows into a lost world. But what if the story we thought we knew was only the beginning? In 2021, a team of archaeologists risked their lives to descend into a desert cave untouched for over 6 decades. What they brought back were not just forgotten threads of history, but a challenge to the very foundations of Scripture. With the help of advanced artificial intelligence, these fragile scraps are being reassembled, translated, and analyzed. And the secrets they hold are more radical than anyone imagined. The silence is lifting. The secrets are out. The Judean Desert, a breathtaking and brutal landscape. High on a sheer limestone cliff, nearly 300 feet above a desolate canyon, lies a dark opening. For 60 years, it remains silent. This is the entrance to a place known only by its ominous name, the Cave of Horror. In 2021, under the leadership of the Israel Antiquities Authority, a specially trained team made a historic and harrowing return. Access is so perilous that most have been deterred for decades. Even the project's lead expert, Oren Abelman, expressed his unease. Personally, it's one of the only caves I do not want to go into. I'll leave that to the expert rappellers. It's one of the most intimidating places I have ever faced. The name isn't metaphorical. It was earned in the 1960s when the first archaeologist to explore its depths made a grim discovery. Huddled in the cramped, dusty chambers were the skeletons of nearly 40 people, men, women, and children. These were Jewish refugees from the catastrophic Bar Kokhba revolt, a final, desperate uprising against the Roman Empire nearly 2,000 years ago. Trapped in this natural fortress by Roman legions, they faced starvation and death. For them, this cave was not a shelter. It was a tomb. No rescue, no escape. Just a verdict whispered across centuries. As the 2021 team sifted through the layers of sediment, they stumbled upon something utterly unexpected. Tucked away in a small alcove was a vessel, a large woven basket, miraculously intact and sealed with a lid. Oren Abelman said, "This is by far first place. It's the most amazing thing I encountered, I've seen in my life. The most biggest intact basket, the oldest intact basket that we know of." Radiocarbon dating delivered an astonishing result. The basket was over 10,500 years old. It was crafted 8,000 years before the scrolls, before writing, before the wheel, in the dawn of the Neolithic age. Its intricate weave, preserved by the desert's unique climate, survived 10 millennia. The discovery proved that this cave was more than just a site of a single Roman-era tragedy. It was a layered monument to human perseverance, a place of repeated return, where generations facing existential threats sought the same isolated refuge. It was a temporal palimpsest, a place inscribed again and again by people who never knew one another.
But amidst the layers of deep time, the team found what they were looking for. Fragments of parchment, some smaller than a postage stamp, their text barely visible. These were new pieces of the Dead Sea Scrolls. The puzzle, however, had just begun. How do you reconstruct a coherent text from confetti-sized scraps, darkened and decayed by 2 millennia? The answer lay in a bold convergence of ancient history and cutting-edge innovation. In a painstaking act of digital resurrection, researchers turned to artificial intelligence. First, every piece was scanned using multispectral imaging, revealing faint traces of ink invisible to the naked eye. Then, machine learning algorithms, trained on vast databases of ancient Greek and Hebrew scripts, began the meticulous work of transcription. But this was more than just reading faded characters. Deep learning systems analyzed patterns in handwriting, ink composition, and parchment preparation. What emerged was not mysticism, but methodology. AI didn't reveal a prophecy, it revealed people, scribes with identifiable quirks in their penmanship. Micro-vibrations in the linework of one fragment indicated tremors. Was the scribe elderly, ill, or writing under immense duress in hiding? Suddenly, the scrolls became the closest thing we have to diaries written in exile. As the texts took shape, a remarkable anomaly emerged. Unlike most scrolls written in Hebrew or Aramaic, these new fragments were rendered in Greek, the common language of the Eastern Mediterranean. But this was not a simple translation. Punctuating the Greek text, the divine name of God was preserved, deliberately written in ancient Paleo-Hebrew script. This linguistic fusion was a symbolic bridge, blending the sacred with the common, Hebrew identity with the Hellenistic world. It spoke of a community navigating the turbulent currents of faith and identity, clinging to tradition while adapting to survive. But the AI-assisted reconstruction revealed a deeper layer. The Greek text was not the Septuagint, the standard Greek translation of the Hebrew Bible. It was a unique, non-standard version. Verses from the prophets Nahum and Zechariah were subtly rephrased. The tone was altered. It appeared editorialized, a fresh interpretation tailored for a specific audience. The scrolls were not just vessels of preserved belief, they were instruments of reinvention. With this new understanding, scholars re-examined the entire collection of Dead Sea Scrolls. And as the AI cross-referenced thousands of fragments against all known biblical traditions, it began to expose not just what was written, but what was left out. The patterns were too consistent to be accidental. They pointed to deliberate redaction, a process of inclusion, exclusion, and rewriting. The entire book of Esther, a cornerstone of the Hebrew Bible, is completely absent from the Qumran collection. So are the books of Chronicles, crucial for tracing priestly and royal genealogies. More unsettling, the reconstructed Greek texts contained passages alien to any known biblical tradition. Messianic prophecies were muted or reinterpreted, replaced by warnings focused on collective ethics. Commandments central to modern faith were either missing or reframed from divine decree to communal counsel. We use the word biblical here cautiously because the Bible, as a fixed concept, didn't exist at the time. The AI's meticulous analysis of handwriting and ink composition revealed distinct sectarian signatures. These were not the uniform works of a single community, but a complex tapestry of theological factions, each shaping sacred texts to affirm its own ideology. The scrolls did more than simply diverge from the modern Bible. They revealed that early Judaism was not a unified faith, but a sprawling ecosystem of competing doctrines. There were alternate creation accounts, conflicting interpretations of the law, and dramatically different notions of God's nature. For decades, it was assumed the Dead Sea Scrolls validated the reliability of our modern Bible. Instead, they unveil a far messier, far more human story. A story where Scripture was not a fixed, divinely dictated monolith, but a contested, evolving archive, a battleground of ideas shaped as much by human politics and survival as by divine inspiration. What we accept today as biblical truth appears to be the end product of centuries of rigorous selection, revision, and erasure. This realization doesn't seek to destroy faith, but to invite a deeper understanding. It suggests that sacredness is not found in an immutable, untouched text, but in the living, breathing history of a people struggling to preserve their identity and their relationship with the divine against impossible odds. From a perilous descent into a cave of tragedy to the digital resurrection of microscopic fragments, the Dead Sea Scrolls have given up their secrets. They are not just the words of God, but the echoes of mortal hands, shaking in fear and faith, recording a world as it crumbled around them. They show us that Scripture was never a monologue from heaven, but a dynamic dialogue between humanity and the divine, a conversation that continues to this day.